Oh, we're live. We didn't get the countdown, Caleb. Here we are. We're live.
Oh, well, we kind of passed the countdown.
Oh, okay. So should we start by introducing Craig, because Craig's new on the panel here? Craig is from Shotcrete out of Ontario, Canada. They run one of the largest fleets in the country, I believe, all swing equipment. Craig is VP of Operations. How many years experience in the industry, Craig?
I ran a pump for 23 years, and I've been in VP position for 2. So,
and you guys do some big work, oil rig platforms, 90, 100-story high rise, like just crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's been a long road. I started here 18 years old, right out of high school, and never looked back.
You actually finished high school? That's impressive for a pump guy. I got my grade 10 diploma. I'm proud of it.
Nice.
Right on. So Craig was at the pump rodeo last week. The pump rodeo. Dan was there too. Didn't go in my favor. Craig and Dan, what did you guys see? What did you see out there from a spectator's perspective? What did you see that I maybe didn't see in the pump rodeo?
If you would have had like a 5-section swing, you probably would have been a little smoother. I don't know.
The 5-section roll and fold? I don't know, man. But maybe the razor would have been good.
Yeah, the razor would have done it.
I was watching on the replay, and I actually watched that at least a dozen times. The one corner there, I really screwed the pooch with my selected boom position and left myself in a hole, just lingering in that one corner. And I can attribute my loss to that. It was poor decision making. I went for the gusto. I tried to get fancy. I went Phil Mickelson style, and it all backfired. And the rest is history, I think.
Maybe if I would have grabbed the hose and yelled at you, you would have been more in your groove, eh? You know, when somebody's not on the hose and they're not yelling at you,
I had Eric Duker chirping me the whole time as he was emceeing it. But like Dan mentioned in the video, without a guy on the end of the hose, it is so much tougher to stabilize that thing. And I think the worst thing that we did was clean out and grease up that tip swivel gasket. The morning of it was way more difficult.
I find too, when you don't have the concrete, the weight in the hose to kind of keep it steady. You really gotta feather into it and out of it a little easier.
I find when you're moving the boom, it helps when you're actually pumping concrete than when you're not pumping concrete, because you're taking the hydraulic fluid and you're splitting it in the pump, so it makes it smoother. So I think that also affected the real life scenario part of it.
We're all trying to help you out, Scott. Here, this is all we can come up with.
I was going to say, apparently it helped Hugo or hurt me a little more than it hurt Hugo. He did just fine. But I should have.
That was his pump, though.
No, he works for that company. Hugo doesn't actually run pump anymore, not full time anyhow. And I always find the guys that are the most dangerous in these rodeos are the guys that work in the shop, because they're the guys that are always tuning the booms and tuning the controls. Like the last guy that won the ACPA rodeo, he was a fleet maintenance guy, and he hadn't run a pump in like a year, and he spanked everybody. And the year that I won, I actually hadn't run a pump in a year as well. So I think there's really something to it. If that makes any sense at all or not, I don't know.
I hadn't put a back end together in about 2 years until I did that little back end challenge.
That's right. Craig is the current swing world record holder for the back end challenge at 9.8 seconds?
Something like that, yeah.
And I will say it was the cleanest and prettiest run that we've seen. There were a couple that were quicker, but they weren't nearly as clean as Craig's. Craig's was a good, honest run. So hats off for that.
Yeah.
So Craig, did you watch everybody's videos this weekend? Were you a good boy? Did you do your homework? Did you see Jeff's video, Caleb's video, Darren's video?
I don't know if I seen Caleb's, but I seen Jeff's, and yeah. Anyway, I can keep up.
Caleb tried to do Shotcrete with a 5-gallon air compressor.
It's 20 gallon.
Was it 20 gallon?
That's a 20 gallon.
Like a little Home Depot one?
Yeah, I said it'll work for about
one. From Northern Tool. No, dude, as soon as they cracked the air on the nozzle, it was just done. And literally 3 seconds.
It was a valiant effort and made for great TV.
What's that?
What did they do? They just stack it? Or did they end up getting a compressor?
No, we were doing the floor, so they didn't have to actually let it stick or anything like that. So we just took the nozzle off and just pumped her on the floor.
2-inch line job.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, they'd already finished all the walls.
Okay.
We were down. It was like the last 6 yards or something like that. But nobody thought to check the fuel on the air compressor on a 72-yard pool shoot.
Been there.
That's how I saw a high rise lose 47 stories of pipe. Was nobody checked the compressor, and they had a pipe blowout at street level, and they went to blow the line out, and the compressor wouldn't start, and they had silver accelerator in it, which is like 1.5%, and 15 minutes later it was done. The whole building done. They just packed it up and walked away.
Oh my
Crazy.
God.
Yeah, it was nasty.
I don't like those phone calls. Yeah.
Well, I was the rental guy running the boom up top. My first day on the site, they were shorthanded, and I was the guy on the boom. And I'm like, "What do you guys want to do?" And they're like, "Oh, we'll just go. It's done." I'm like, "You sure? Okay." So yeah,
just called it, eh?
Just called it, and they crane a bucket of the rest of the building. So
yeah, we've had it where the crane operator leaves, and
yeah, I've had that.
You know, you got to get the compressor down a few floors or whatever you got to do, and you got to figure it out. Wow. We had one a couple of weeks ago where we didn't have enough hose because we were blowing through the boom, and we got the boom clean, and then we went to go blow the vertical or the vertical, and the airline wouldn't reach. So then we had a building across the street, so he ran down the building, ran across the street, ran up the other building, got the airline, came back down across the street, back up, and we saved everything. God. Thank God. But you always, as a pump operator, you got to be prepared for anything, man. And that's, have your routine and be prepared. That's
how many high rises do you guys have on the go right now, Craig?
Quite a few.
More than 10, less than 40.
Yeah.
Well, they say a good pump operator isn't about how well you can pump concrete. It's about how well you can solve problems.
No, it's true. Like anybody, I could teach my 13-year-old daughter to run a boom. No offense, but it's when you plug up and you get into trouble, how you handle yourself. That's an operator.
Right? Yep. I think that's the easiest thing. That's the easiest part of our job, I think, is actually the pumping and placing. It's all the curveballs that you get thrown at you that's what makes or breaks you right there.
Yeah.
How you operate under pressure too, how you handle stress, right? Do you fall apart, fight or flight, right?
Yeah. And you got to think I tell my guys, give them an example. Say you blow a rigger on the hydraulic line. You need to fold the boom up, or you need to pack the machine up. And I said, just switch the lines. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, just bring the foot up, switch the line, and then, run the controls for bringing it up, and it'll bring it in. Like, you just got to kind of think smart, right?
Yeah. And I think the guy also, when he makes that phone call, usually they're pretty stirred up. I think how you handle the phone call can also play out in how things happen. If you're calm and you can help things through, that seems to settle that guy down some, and then help him get back on track of the mindset that he needs to be and what I need to think about, what I need to be doing. But if you blow up and just start going nuts too, then you're just going to compound the problem. So it helps to who they make that phone call to, how those guys react.
Yeah, I'm fortunate here at Pumpcrete. I got a great team. My mechanics, my maintenance manager has been doing it for 35 years. Knows pretty much every situation. And the service I get from Schwing is, I can call over to Schwing any time of the day and get answers if I don't have them. So,
yeah.
And you guys are all Schwing, right, Craig? With a couple of bears?
Yeah, I got 242 Lee bears.
Have you guys ever dabbled in Alliance, Putzmeister, any of the other stuff, or just Schwing on the bear?
Before we became the Schwing dealer up here in Ontario, we had a 31 Putzy 5-section, and then when we became the dealer, they kind of went into our yard and went,
yeah,
get rid of that. So yeah, we replaced it with a 31T, and haven't looked back. I mean, I don't know how many we got, maybe 5, 6 in our fleet, and they're busy every day. They're so versatile. You know, you can get them in any situation. You know, those
I've
tight
never
spots?
heard somebody talk bad about the 31 XT
No.
ever.
No.
It's the same. I hear the same sentiment from almost everybody unanimously who runs those pumps.
Yeah, they're definitely. You know, you can get into a subdivision where you got a pole on one side, you got wires, you got, you get into those tight setups. It's amazing what you can do. And in factories with a low ceiling, you can weasel it in anywhere.
How did you guys end up with a couple of LeBares? What prompted that? Out of curiosity. I mean, I like them. I think they're quite a pump. But
COVID.
Availability.
Supplies. Yeah, we couldn't. That we were waiting for equipment, and we thought, we'd give them a try. I mean, it's Liebherr, like they know their shit, right? And I was pretty impressed with your video of that of the 38 5-section
with the XXA system.
With the XXA, I've got Joe Gambacourt. He's one of their sales guys that we use here. They're gonna bring one over in the next few weeks to our yard so I can play with. Check it out.
What do you guys have 3? Is it 42s LeBares?
Two.
And so they don't have the XXA stability electronics, but they still have the Dragonfly outriggers.
Yeah, they're the XXT. The rigger system on that is unbelievable. You know how you can bring that front rigger right close to the cab, and your working range is pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you for the outriggers. So yeah, that's kind of the hot selling point for us. We have the similar setup on our 58 meter Putzmeister, and there's continually jobs where it can set up where really no other big boom could. It's amazing what that style of front outrigger, the options that it opens up. So,
Mr. Weiss, you're on mute. How you doing, bud?
What's going on, guys?
Chris, how you doing?
Good. You, Scott?
Just gonna change my hat here. See, I got it. It's still got the sticker on it, but I came prepared.
How's everyone this evening?
Doing swell.
Excellent. It's good to see you in the comments on all our premieres this weekend. Chris, you're also a Schwing guy. You're around, what, 30 machines?
Yeah, close to it, yeah.
And you've run other brands as well. You've had some Concord stuff. Have you ever any Putzmeister stuff?
The only Putzmeisters I've had is when we purchased a company that came with a 32Z, it came with a 36 roll and fold. They were older machines. They did their time. They just started causing me a couple electrical issues, so kind of parted ways with them after a couple years. But overall, they were pretty good.
So you've been around both we'll call it Putzmeister style machines as well as Schwing. So they got a topic I was going to bring up a little bit later on, and you might have some good insight on this one then. Did you get a chance to watch Jeff's video today with the Aircom remote doing what it's intended to do, serving its purpose in life?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was a good video.
How's it going with that remote, Jeff? Overall, what has it made your life better or worse? Because I noticed you're pulling hose around now. So I didn't know what to think of it.
Yeah, I've blown out 2 pair of jeans now. The back pockets just, I guess I got too much. I've gained too much ass. So no, it's been great. I've had, of course, y'all. I mean, I only post probably a quarter of the videos of the jobs I do. I mean, so I've just posted the really good ones that I felt like were better videos. But it's come in very handy with all those videos I've just had some harsh mixes lately, and I couldn't imagine the trips I would make back and forth to the pump, trying to get those things wrestled out of there. So it's nice being able to stand right there at the plug and be able to reverse the pump, and hit on it and go back forward and get them worked out right there, because it's a time saver. It's all the above. It's been great. So
I couldn't believe that wall held together in your video today, that one-sided form. Yeah, I did not think that was going to work. And then the guy stripped it and actually made a nice job of it finishing it too. Yeah. In our market, it would just never work. And I think it speaks more to the trades in our market rather than the technique. But I thought that was going to go sideways, pun intended, almost for sure. It would have been a hell of a video.
I felt like we had a fighting chance. You know, I got to counting back how, you know, the mud, we started at 8 o'clock, so it probably got bashed around 7:15. So, you know, that was about 11 o'clock when they started stripping the forms. So, you know, as we all know, 3 hours on concrete is the magic number for all of it. So I felt like we had a really good chance. We pumped it dry and got it laid in there like that. So it worked. It seemed to do well. I felt like they had a good shot at it with what we had going on. That was some of the reason I had problems. I did not want to add any water to that mix, even with all the balls in it. I just did not want to get it too wet for them. If we'd have got it too wet, I think that would have been a lot worse. But no, it come out nice. It was good. They got it pulled at the right time. They were able to rub the sides of it, get some of the honeycomb worked out of it. It worked out real well for them.
What did you think of my comment, Jeff, that now that you can't be back at the hopper all the time, we need to get you a working grate vibrator and a secondary screen? Is that too much too fast?
Yeah, you're putting a lot on me. I mean,
and then we were talking about remote volume control and RPM control too. I feel kind of bad.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get with Mark and have a phone conversation with him on some of that, on a couple of those things. As far as the grate goes, I really have been considering just taking some 3/8 rebar and just welding, you know, about 6 or 7 strips across the center of it, about 3 inches apart, and seeing how well that works, and then going from there. If I don't like it, I can always grind it off. But I definitely want to start looking into doing something like that.
We did that on a few of our machines, but it became dependent on having a working vibrator. If the vibrator ever croaked, and you weren't slumping it up piss wet, it would stack up pretty good on the bars, and it wasn't removable.
Yeah.
But as long as the vibrator is working, it's great. You don't have it rattling around all day long. So
yeah.
And the other thing though is that if you want to do a drier mix, you can't do it sometimes.
Right.
Yeah. Like what we do is we just buy like 3x3 wire mesh and cut it to fit your hopper, and then just throw it on top of the grate when you have a mix that you need. You know, you're worried about when you're running like a 2-inch, 2.5, 3-inch line. Throw it down on top, and then you can just pull it off and throw it on your pump, and whenever you need it, you got it, right?
Yeah.
But working vibrator is definitely key. I don't know if anyone in this, I'm sure everybody in this group's had to take one of the finishers vibrators and wire it to the grate when you're sure.
I actually saved a hopper one day. We had a hot mix and we were pouring walls, and the guys were taking their time, and it was a 90-degree day, and the hopper was ripped. And so I actually went and got the guy's vibrator and brought it over there and just started penciling it down between the valve and the hopper and working it and saved the hopper. And it was able to get into getting the valve also. And it just melted it away.
You know it's bad when you put the vibrator in it and it just leaves that perfect hole. Like it doesn't actually it's like, uh-oh.
That had to be a sick feeling.
I think we're in trouble.
Yeah, the same stuff that's coming down the chute at a 2-inch slump, but it's still splashing 15 feet in every direction.
Yeah.
Bad signs.
So is it better? Because I've been thinking about, you know, getting the vibrator. Is it better? A lot of y'all put them on the hopper, you know, the grate, and like on our booms, they're on the bottom side of the hopper.
Yeah.
If I mount one, I mean, what do y'all suggest?
Well, at first they mounted them on top of the grate. Then Schwing went behind the hopper, and now they're doing it under the grate. So, I mean, under the grate is probably the best. So it's submerged right in the concrete. I mean, that'll do. What do you think, Chris? That's probably your best bet, eh?
Yeah, I don't know. Everyone has their own opinion on it. I honestly, the new Schwings that have been coming, I've actually been resorting by cutting the plates off and putting them on top of the grate again for myself. But
that's what I did.
just because, I'm thinking it's in concrete all day. Is it susceptible to more moisture? I don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Craig, why do you say under the grate? Is it to protect it from the mixer shoots, or is it to keep it cooler by having it sitting in the concrete?
I just find that it just works. It's
Well,
vibrating.
we do the same. We have it
Yeah.
under the grate, and my brother was the one who started doing it. I think he said it was because it would keep the vibrator cooler because it was partially submerged in the concrete. And I didn't know if that was just like an old wives' tale or not, but I mean, it's worked. It's worked for us. We tried mounting them on the outside of the hopper, and it would sometimes actually crack the hopper.
It makes more noise than anything.
Yeah, it doesn't vibrate. Like if you don't have it actually on the grate, it doesn't work that well. And some guys say, "Oh, if you have it on the hopper, it keeps the hopper cleaner." I didn't find that. Not with what we do anyhow.
Do you ever get into fiber mixes, Jeff?
On occasion, yes. On occasion.
How do you handle that with a vibrator? I guess you could lift the chute up, keep it high, and let it fall through. Keep the level of the concrete below the grate so it doesn't pile up.
Yeah, I really haven't had that much trouble with them. Only time as far as on the grate goes, like if you get a big wad of hair that doesn't get mixed in, it might sit on top of the grate. But other than that, I've never had any trouble with it. So the agitator seems to keep it moving somewhat. But my thinking was to mount it under. Not under the grate, but on the backside of the hopper, where it would be under the grate, but on the outside of the backside of it, on the bow or on the discharge side. Those pumps aren't that big, and I just assume that it'll be well strong enough to pull that concrete down.
I don't think that you can put it on the top of your grate. You have a 500. An SP 500. Yeah, the grate, it's so short compared to like a typical boom pump. I don't think where it hinges, I think you'd end up hitting the back.
Yeah, it's gonna hit back there.
You either have to put it under the grate or just put it on the back. I can't remember, Chris. Do the SPs now come with them under, or are they on the back of the hopper? I think they're on the back.
That I don't know because my SP 1000's on the grate. So the 500, I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It either had to go under or go on the backside of the hopper, and my choice was going to be on the backside of the hopper to keep it out of the concrete and keep it out of the way.
It works. It'll work, no question.
Yeah, I think so.
Better than not having it.
The benefit to that, I know when they're grate mounted, like from the factory, a Putzmeister comes grate mounted, but it's offset to the driver's side, and it just beats the crap out of the hopper grate dowel and the bushing on that one side. So moving it to the middle balances that wear out and then reduces it some even further than that. But I'd seen on one of the line pumping pages, a guy wired a rheostat into his vibrator. So it wasn't just on or off. He could actually turn it up or down. So he wasn't beating the crap out of the grate unnecessarily if he didn't have to, which I thought was a really cool idea. And I don't know if it would be that difficult to do, but I think it would kind of give somebody the best of all worlds.
Mm-hmm. That is a good idea.
Yeah, this Chris Wood said that you leave it on too long, it tends to pack, at the bottom. And I'm guessing you just wire it into the on-off switch, wouldn't you? Just like you do on your boom pumps. When you hit the on switch, it's going to kick it on, and when you kick it off, it turns it off.
Yeah, through a relay, yes.
Yeah, I think that'd be ideal. So,
Jeff, these might be the perfect guys to ask. You were looking at a 750/18 swing, and remember you mentioned they were kind of trying to push you on a 1000. Chris and Craig, what do you guys notice in the real world, in the practical world, the difference between a 750/18 and a 1000? From what I could see, it's just horsepower. What do you guys see in terms of performance between the two?
Craig?
Yeah, definitely horsepower. Like if you get into Shotcrete, we helped Schwing develop a HP high pressure 1000, so we're able to get compete with the Reeds and the real Shotcrete machines that are out there, the Warrior. And so we bumped up the pressure. And, for what it is, it's a versatile machine. You can pump 500-600 feet of pipe with a 1000, no problem. Where you get a 750 or a 500, you're really limited. It depends what your application is, like what you're mainly into. But I mean, for us, I don't, all our truck mounted, they're all 1000s. We've got 3 truck mounted 1000s, and then we've got the 1 HP. And I mean, it's out every day. It'll pump 500 feet, 4-inch line all day.
What's the volume output on that? Because I remember seeing on the Schwing site, they rated it like 20 meters an hour or something. I'm like, that's got to be a typo. It was like 1500 psi pump pressure, but they had a really low volume output rating on it. And like I said, maybe it's just an error in the literature.
Can't remember. I think it's got 7-inch pistons. I can't remember the length of the barrel. I mean, I could do a quick look here.
I thought it was a 70 or 80 yard an hour pump.
Yeah, it's like 80 on a 1000, I think.
Yeah.
Is that the 1000 HP?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was,
For what I do, either one of them are really more pumped than what I need for what I do. The 500, I mean, suits me well. I just, with going with the 750 at 18, I was just thinking it's going to bump me up a little bit on volume and, a little hardier pump. But that thing's on an idle compared to everything else I do with those pull decks and stuff. With the 1000, it was just getting up there on the weight. That thing weighs almost 10,000 pounds. I think it's like 9,200 or something. And that's a lot of weight for my 1 ton.
Yeah.
That was for the 1000?
Yeah.
And what was the 750 18?
I think it was about 1,000 pounds less or so. The 500 I have now, I think it's 6,500. I think the new ones are up around 7,300 pounds.
Right.
If I remember right. I'm kind of shooting from the hip here, but I think I'm close.
Matt's got a good question in the comments for Craig there about the 301. Craig, have you ever seen or used a 301 Schwing specific for higher pressure?
Not really, not personally. We have one, but I haven't ran it before, but not for high pressure. I mean, what's the application? Like just pump.
Matt is with Mud Demon, so I'm assuming a bigger option for the Mud Demon, maybe.
Well, when it comes to the Mud Demon, the 301 is going to have a shorter piston comparable to like the 305, except it's going to be a 6-inch piston or a 7-inch piston with the rock valve, but they're still going to be shorter. And that's the thing with the Mud Demon is we got to keep that thing a certain width so we can keep it on the trailer and keep it on the skidster. Is the main thing with the 301. But you still get a rock valve. You can still pump some harsh mixes with it.
What are your guys' thoughts on an S tube versus a rock valve for Shotcrete in terms of build up, keeping it clean? What have you guys seen? Like I know with our TK60 HP puts, it pumps Shotcrete like a bastard, but it does have kind of a nasty contour to the S tube. And it can be a bear to keep clean and a bit of a bear to clean out. How is the rock valve in terms of that?
I haven't seen any issues.
The handful of times I've done Shotcrete, it wasn't an issue for me either. It was just like an normal everyday application, really.
So, nobody really likes doing Shotcrete, though, do they?
I do. Caleb loves it. That's his bread and butter. That's all.
I did it for probably 4 years, and then I thought, you know what? I should train people. That would be a good job. I'll train people on how to do my job because I just.
What did you like about
it? It goes bad.
Yeah, that's true.
We're running 400 feet of gear down in the hole. You get an inexperienced crew and, 40-degree weather.
Yeah.
you know, and it can be nasty.
That's a lot different shotcrete that I'm doing. I hardly ever get over 150 foot of line in shotcrete.
Oh.
So it's I love the shotcrete days because it's one job all day. I know that one job pays the same as if I was getting 3 normal jobs in the day, and I get to just stand there and back trucks in, make sure everything's working out all right. I enjoy shotcrete.
Well, the guy that I learned from, Dan Sorensen, a bit of a legend. This guy used to do all of our pools, and when you seen him sitting there reading the paper, you knew everything was cool. Like, you know, you wanted to see Dan sitting there reading the paper, and everything was just going tickety boo. But when you seen him get up and he'd start screaming at everybody, you know you got to move. Like, shit's going down. But I mean, we're doing a lot more foundation walls, like on high rises. You know, doing single-sided walls, so they don't have to bring those big forms in to form the outer walls. So
all the parquet stuff.
Yeah, they're doing that all in shotcrete, and you know that's a production. Like it takes a lot out of you, and it's
that's what they do out where we are.
Yeah. Or where you got to set the pump here, and you got to, you know, we'll come in and we'll run 3-inch stand lines going down, you know, 60 feet, and then run as much steel as we can, and then to get to and try to keep it at, like Caleb was saying, like 150, 200 feet of rubber. Anything more than that is you're asking for, you know, you get one problem without an experienced crew. So now we're like, when we do big line jobs like that, now I tell them the customers that you need 2 guys, one guy in the hole and one guy running the pump, because you 100%. Get an inexperienced crew. And I tell them, this goes wrong, you're buying the line. Like, this is
Yeah. Well, the guys from Meals from Australia, I've been chatting with them a bit, and one of the fellas sent me a video yesterday. They're doing shotcrete through a boom pump, and they have like a robotic nozzle on the end that adapts to the regular boom pump, and they're out there spraying in 47 degrees Celsius heat, pumping shotcrete through this thing. It was just absolutely wild to see.
Oh, yeah. No, I've seen those. They came out with those probably 10 years ago, and they're pretty cool.
I just don't know how accurate it could be, because it's just blasting the stuff out like a fire hose.
Yeah. So we did a jail, and we had to fill it all with the block wall with grout. So we actually took all the boom pipe off the boom and put 2.5-inch hose and strung it along the whole boom to be able to do it, because you get too much buildup in. Yeah. You know, you're pumping slow grout all day. And, you know, at the end of the day, you got to get the loader to come over with that bucket of stone and try to recirculate it and try to scrape it down. But by the end of the job, you know, you got that much, like kind of like your high rise job there, Scott.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. Craig, you sound like my brother. We did a pool on the 18th floor of a high rise, or well, not a mid rise, I guess you call it, with our 58 meters straight up in the air. And Tony wanted to strap 2-inch hose around the boom pipe, but I told him, "No, you're crazy." I guess he's not crazy.
No, yeah, it worked.
Yeah, it worked. Just zip tied along it.
Yeah, no, that's like basically what he wanted to do. And I'm like, "No, man, why would you do that?" Well, yeah, maybe he's onto something after all.
I'm not putting shotcrete in my boom. No chance. Not a fan.
We do it 2 or 3 times a week here. You know what I find? I find it beats the shit out of the piston cups. I think all the fines in it, it just kills piston cups. I mean, we charge for it accordingly, and we have like 1 or 2 guys. Well, me being one of them, so basically 2 guys that will actually send out to do it. But yeah, it's not for the faint of heart. And like you said, with the old school guy who reads the paper, when it's going great, you're just chilled out and relaxed. But the minute that it's not, oh man, it's just like all hands on deck. Let's go.
Oh yeah.
High stress.
Yeah. High stress.
Well, it wouldn't bother me in cooler temperatures, but I don't want to do it here in the summertime. I mean, it's just, to me, it's just, you just take a chance. It's too hot a mix, and you get delayed in the trucks and stuff. I mean, you're going to be cleaning out every time.
Yep.
That just makes bigger messes and stuff.
What do you guys see this summer, Jeff? 110 Fahrenheit?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, really, the upper end of 90s, 100. We'll get a spell of 100 and 105, 107 sometimes. But the thing is, it'll bring in the humidity too with it. So, and you think humidity would help because it's moisture in the air, but for some reason, it seems like it dries the concrete out even faster when it's like that. So,
Mike in the comments says, "I think Craig wants to go back to Shotcrete, Mark."
No,
Let's get him a C50 SS with a tow behind compressor, the full rig.
I'll do it, but I'm not going to be happy about it.
So I'm curious about. I'm a one-man show pretty much. So I carry 25-foot 3-inch hoses, and I feel like I'm pretty efficient with stringing them out and picking them back up and stuff. But I think earlier today you were talking about in the comments about using steel and being pretty efficient about getting steel laid out and things like that. I don't know that I didn't comprehend that y'all were saying y'all really could lay it out a lot faster. And when I had steel, it seemed like it was slow because you almost had to have two guys on each end of a 10-foot section to get them clamped in and stuff.
I seen you with that. What was that, like a 25-foot 4-inch hose?
They're 3-inch, 25 threes.
In that video, that was that a 4 or was that a 3?
3.
Oh, that was the other video, Craig.
Oh, the other video.
Yeah, Darren's video was 4-inch hose.
Yeah, Fonneberger carries the 20.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That one I couldn't believe. 25-foot 4-inch hose.
Is he carrying 25s?
Dude, those are 25s. 20s, 25s, they were still long. They were longer.
Oh, yeah.
Scott, you carry 20s, right?
Yeah, 4-inch and 3.5. We carry 20s.
20s.
It's funny. I talk to guys that carry 10-footers, and basically it seems like every market but ours. I think 10-foot hoses is crazy. I would hate dealing with all the clamps and all the joints to snag on stuff. It wanting to kink at every coupling. It was what I would think it would want to do. I like the longer the hose, the better. I mean, I don't like 50-foot hoses. I think they absolutely suck, especially for Shotcrete when you don't have a compressor to clean out. Yeah. But no, man, for 3.5 and 4-inch, 20-footers all day long. Maybe I just don't know any better is very likely what the case is, honestly.
I've had the 10-foots on one of my pumps out here, and I like the 20-footers a lot better.
Really? You like carrying those?
Well, when they're empty.
Yeah. Well, you need two guys, don't you? Or you're just dragging the steel.
The 3-foot and under ones, you just roll them up and put them over your shoulder and go upstairs, whatever with them.
There's Ian's challenge right there.
Well, Ian's been out for 2 weeks with a bad back, so I don't know if the challenge is ever going to happen.
I don't do challenges that involve stairs. Let's just get back there.
50-story high-rise challenge. I should have walked up on that video to 47.
You go first, and then
I should have done it.
You go first.
I honestly didn't think anybody carried more than longer than 10 foot on the 4-inch. They seem heavy to me, so especially dragging them around if they're full of concrete and stuff like that. So I didn't know anybody would attempt that.
For like a residential basement, are you guys in Ontario, are you running 4-inch steel pipe up to the basement and then hose from there?
Yeah, I'll run a 4-inch right to the window, probably put a 90 on it, put a short pipe, put a 90 on the bottom, and then run, maybe it might be a typical basement might be 80 feet, like on a bigger home. And we'll put steel pans underneath if it's heated floors or depending on, we're seeing that a lot more now. It's people have more money to burn.
And does your mix require 4-inch? Is that why you guys are running the 4-inch line?
Yeah. Our mix is probably the worst out of anyone to hear. Like it's all crushed limestone, 3/4. The blend is, and is okay, but we're finding that they're using a lot of chemicals for slump. It's just it is tough pumping.
Well, you find on your rock valve, if you do get too rocky of a mix, that the rock just seems to float on top of it, and you start getting some air in there. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'll say about my trailer pump is if it will pump the mix no matter how harsh it is, if it'll get down in the barrels and actually pump, I can get that same mix to go through 3-inch. The rock valve seems to be my telltale to save me because if it's too rocky, it'll just sit there on top of the valve and float as it shifts back and forth and pull air.
Here's some of. I got it on my phone, and this is kind of ghetto, but I don't know if you can see that.
That looks nasty.
Oh yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Ew.
That's what I,
All the
that's what I
arrowhead.
call Captain Crunch.
Like that's what we're dealing with.
And is that just because of the natural materials that are available to you on the East Coast? That's kind of all there is.
Yeah. By Chris's house, he's got a good quarry. Concrete out by him is not bad. Out of the Peterborough area, but we find out of the like the Niagara region, by Niagara Falls, is the quarries out there are just nasty crushed limestone. It looks like road base, like it's just gross. And when you don't have
you guys get like a 2.5-inch mix, what are they using for stone then to make it work?
It'll either be a 10 to 14 mil chip stone. We very rarely get the nice round stone. We can get it, but it's 50% of the time. If we get like a 2-inch line mix, or a 3-inch line mix, it's gonna be chip.
See, that's what I had last Sunday on that video was the chip. We call it for us a 3/8 half-inch chip, crushed limestone, and I don't know if they just overloaded the stone in the mix and they did have quite a bit of man sand also, but I basically just had to put some more water with it. Finally got it where it was hydrated enough that it would go. It was pressuring out at the reducers behind the pump. It wasn't pressuring out in the hoses. It's pressuring out at the reducers.
In that mix, Jeff, it depends on how many fines they have, because the fines rob all the powder from the big stone, and that's what makes it hard to pump.
Yeah, I agree. But
we get these line jobs with all the 4-inch pipe. Is it just one operator on the pump?
It depends on the length for me. I don't like Craig. I think you're about the same, right? Depends on how far we're running,
and it depends on the crew. We have crews that you get there, and as soon as you roll in, they've already got the side of the pump flipped down. They've already got the pipe out there. You'll go in, and they'll have them all put together 2 by 2. I'll boom in. By the time I get upstairs, everything's laid out. I'll just go check all the clamps, put them all together. They'll put them up in 2s. We have great crews, but then you have inexperienced crews when you show up and they're all wearing sandals and you're doing a backyard patio and nobody really knows what they're doing. And if it's over like 200 feet, typically I'll try to get a second man to go out and we have an apprenticeship here. So we usually have a couple kids kicking around that need to learn. So that's what better place to learn than on a line job, right?
Yep.
Finding plugs, learning what not to do.
I wish we could find those kids out here. That seems to be our issue. We can't find those young guys to learn from scratch, or maybe we're not doing the right things or going the right way about doing it. But that's like we need a couple of them right now. We just can't. They all want to go work at Best Buy or Amazon warehouse. It's really
find
tough.
The farmers. Go find the farmers. That's who you need. The farm kids.
What do you think, Dan? You're from out in the valley.
Farm kids are great, but the thing is, for them to drive from where they live out in the farms all the way downtown is a bit far.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do y'all have for like here? We've got in the schools, the ag department, the FFA guys, Future Farmers of America. I mean, there's a lot of times those ag teachers know the kids that might have a hard time maybe getting into school, but know they got a ton of common sense.
Mm-hmm.
It would make good, good kids in our field. So that may be a place to start, is to go to the schools and see who's is going to need a job when they get out of school.
Well, you did that with a pump, didn't you, Craig? You took it to the schools.
Yep. Yeah, they had like a thing for the school board, local school board up here, and they had all the different trades there, and I brought a pump. They had whatever the trades were, and then I show up with a pump, and then the kids come over and I give them the remote and let them have it. It was pretty awesome, and we actually got an operator out of it. Actually, it was funny because one day Chris's son showed up at the. He's like, you know my dad? I said, who's your dad? Chris Weiss. I said, yes, I do. Sent him a picture. I'm like, who's this kid? But I mean, it's pretty awesome. And like, even as a kid, I didn't know what a concrete pump was. Like, you know.
See, that's probably the biggest problem is like I knew, you know, you drive around and you see the booms everywhere doing jobs and stuff, but you don't really know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I never even really considered this a job until I got into the pool industry, and I was like, oh, this looks awesome. Like you were saying, that guy's over there reading the newspaper. Yeah. Can I just stand there and read the newspaper all day?
You make it look easy. It you know. But
that's the problem. Some guys they look at us when we know what we're doing and we're at a job and where everything's going good, and they go, oh, I want to do that. I've had guys that come out and they try it out for a bit, and then something doesn't go right for them. It's not what they were expecting, and they're like, okay, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
That's what day one. Go throw him on like a 500-foot line job, throw a hook in his hand, and then we'll separate the men from the boys real quick.
That's why That's why they're fresh recruits go on the trailer pumps.
Yep. We've had this conversation a little bit, I think, all of us. And Dan, I think you would agree with me. Our market out here, on average, ready mix driver, factoring in benefits and everything, pays better than pump operator. Is that fair to say?
Yep.
And everybody else I've talked to from every other market they just can't believe it. So here we are in our market complaining about how we can't find guys to run pump, yet our market is below what ready mix is at. So I mean, maybe that's an obvious issue. I don't know.
Well, I've said lots of times, if I was go back 20 years or so and start all over again, I'd go ready mix rather than pump. Way less stress, and you make more money.
Wow, what are they paying ready mix drivers out there, Scott?
40. What would you say on average, Dan? 44.
I'd say between 40. Most companies, I'd say between 40 and 45, depending on the benefits. Probably more than 45 when you include the pension and all that stuff in with it. Whereas pump operators out here, I'd say on average between $3 and $5 less than mixer drivers.
And the overtime structure for the ready mix outfit is much stronger than what it is in the pumping industry. Overtime and benefits as a whole. So it's a challenge, but I mean that's a product of our industry, which I think got extremely oversaturated with pumps, probably in and around the early to mid 2000s, and it was really dog eat dog, and it we kind of led ourselves to our own demise in that regard, and I feel like it's getting better. I also feel like ready mix pays really high out here because maybe they figured it out, especially through COVID, and decided to start charging what they needed to. And I think the pump guys were just kind of behind. So, but I think that's a big part of it.
Our operators start, like, it's tiered. So up to 42 is like $49. And then over 42 to 52 is a $2 premium. And then 52 and up is another $2 on top of that. So you're at $53, almost $54.
What's the overtime structure?
Anything before 7 and after 3 or 8 to 4, depending, is double time.
Double. So there is no time and a half. It's double.
No. Even on a Monday, you come in on Monday. So, you're 7 on site. You're at the shop at, let's say, 6. So 6 to 7 is double. Do your 8 hours, and then everything after that is double.
And then what's the pension, like the pension component?
I think it's, what is it, Chris? $7 an hour.
On top of your 50, whatever.
Yeah. I think we're $75 all in with pension and benefits. Yeah. For an operator.
So that's miles ahead of the West Coast. Miles. We also are able to get away with using 2-inch line out here. So there is some positives, but yeah, in terms of compensation, it's miles ahead of the West Coast, which is interesting because I would say that our real estate, especially in our region, is equal to, if not possibly more expensive than the Toronto area.
Yeah.
But the West Coast has always just been weird like that. It's just a weird market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know how people afford it. You know, you're an operator, you're in Ontario, you make 150 grand a year, and you can't afford to buy a townhouse. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Yeah, Vancouver's the same.
Yeah, we'll build it, but we can't afford to live there.
It's sad, right? We all live 2 hours outside of the main urban center, which is fine with me.
I'm an hour and a half to Toronto.
And your guys are headquartered near Toronto?
Yeah, we're
just north.
Yeah, just north of Toronto.
So you do that drive both ways every day then, obviously?
I'm about an hour and 10, and if it's a busy, I live up in cottage country, so when long weekends and stuff like that, yeah, it takes time to get home, but I'm like an hour and 15 on any given day, which isn't terrible. Toronto's so busy, the traffic. You could live at one side of Toronto, and it could take you 2 hours to get to the other side of Toronto. You just never know. It's like LA, right? Like, that's just gridlock.
Jeez. Yeah, it's funny that the one day that we were there for the Concrete Expo, we went downtown for a little tour, and I was so surprised. I'm like, oh, traffic's way better here. But everybody I talked to is just like, no, this isn't how it is all the time. I thought your downtown was so much cleaner than ours. We only saw like 3 homeless people, and they weren't even methed out. They weren't even walking like zombies. They were just like literally like old school hobos in Vancouver.
With the stick with the bandana tied on it, just hanging out by the train station.
Just gonna hop a train. Yeah, exactly. Right. Oh man.
But Craig, we were saying the same thing about Vancouver when we were there visiting Scott.
Yeah, but until we drove down that one road, and there was like guys bent right over, like not even moving, like they were frozen in time. I was like, "What is going on here?" It's like,
yeah, that's 10 minutes from where I live.
Yeah, it's like
it is.
It's crazy.
Oh man. So you guys watched the high rise video of mine last week where we had the blowdown incident. Have you ever seen concrete pump through a pipe like that height at that volume ever?
What were your pressures like? Were you actually pumping it?
No, I was hanging out with the GoPro. Kind of what I do. No, we only got one load that hit 120 bar, and it's because it was way too dry. But when we were getting the slump that we were supposed to, it was pushing like 80 to 85 bar at 70 meters an hour. Wow. Like just insanity. I guess it's a testament to the mix more so than anything.
Absolutely.
But
I've got a job where we're doing, we're at 40, and we're hitting 300 bar, 250. And, we got to swap it out for an 8800 or a 9500 just because we can't, just with the mix designs here, they're getting worse.
All the chemical?
All the chemical. It doesn't have the paste, it doesn't have the juice.
It's funny because that particular job, my brother always talks about how the mix on that job is harder to pump than all of our other jobs. And here we are listening to your guys' stories. I'm just like, yeah, I'll shut up now. So what spawned from that video, the controversy, and there's been no determined solid answer to it. The Go Devil.
Well, the Go Devil. You and your
what
backwards
way does the Go Devil go in the pipe?
Backwards Go Devil.
Here we go.
Yeah, this is it. Ding, ding, ding.
So, I did talk to Dean from Conforms on Friday because it was actually bugging me. I seen that video. I'm like, I seen this video, and this guy's he's putting it in backwards. I'm like, I know. The reason being that you put it in the other way is so when it goes through the pipe, it conforms to the pipe, it leads the edge, and then the back of it has more surface area to push with the air, because from what I understand, the other 2 rings are 5-inch, and the one on the end is 6-inch diameter.
So I talked to Mike Setner at Conforms, and he told me the exact opposite. He said if you lead with the cone end and there's any buildup, it can get cockeyed and jammed in the pipe. So you're supposed to lead with the flat end, because he said it's slightly tapered, if that makes any sense, and it's more likely to skim over any buildup than if you lead with the cone end. And if you lead with the cone end and you get a slight difference between an old pipe and a new pipe, it's more prone to hang up. Like we use them cone end first for probably 10, 15 years until we were told to spin them around the other way. So this is the great controversy.
Look at the 4-inch Go Devils. You see how they differ? They have
we don't have those ones.
They have like a cone that flares out at the back like this. It looks like a cone. It goes out like this.
Yes,
and,
like a badminton dart or birdie or something. Yeah.
So what happens is when
a shuttlecock. It's called a shuttlecock.
Shuttlecock. Yes, Caleb. You win.
When you put the air to it, it'll actually push out that edge and then scrape it down.
But if it were backwards, the action of it sliding through the pipe would flare it out too. I don't know.
So then that being said,
with two different answers.
Okay, so
that being said, the 5-inch Go Devil that Scott was using, it's hollow in the middle. So if you turn it around the way that Scott puts it in theory, air would go inside that hollow part and expand it.
Okay, this is out of I know this isn't great. This is out of like a Schwing manual. See which way those Go Devils are? That's the cap.
Yeah.
On this end. Sorry. See that? See how they're positioned?
Yes.
I don't know.
Is that the Schwing one that has a steel insert in it?
So that catcher, I actually made one, and what it is so like a typical Go Devil catcher, it expels the air, right? So I made one for a 4-inch because it has that conical design. So what I did was I made the cap shorter. So then when I blow it out through the line, the Go Devil will hit the end of the cap and it'll keep the air in the system. And then as soon as I see the cap or see the Go Devil hit the cap, then I can relieve the pressure at the back end.
You don't get the explosion.
But with the 4-inch, you have to use long radius 90s, like 24-inch radius 90s. Because they can't get around those short diameter 90s. So if you are going to do that, you got to use I did that right downtown. That was the first job because we couldn't have the air expel. And it was like 600 feet right downtown Toronto doing Nathan Phillips Square. They have an outdoor hockey rink. And I couldn't have the air expelled out, right? And we were using nitrogen. And, so I had, my second operator had a good guy there. We, tapped it all the way through and controlled the speed right down to the last. Like typically I can make a ball just fall out the end. You equalize the pressure, right? But, we couldn't even take a risk of that because it was, public everywhere, people everywhere. But I made that cap and, I kept all the air in the line and worked mint.
That's probably a good topic, blowing out with nitrogen. I know very little about it. I don't know if anybody else here has ever used it. I'd be curious. I've seen guys with like the fountain soda dispenser size nitrogen bottle. Is that what you guys would use?
Yeah. How do you calculate how much you need?
What's that, sorry?
How do you calculate how much you would need? I guess.
Like how far I've gotten through?
No.
How much nitrogen you need?
Yeah. How do you calculate how much?
The bottles that we typically carry, which we're kind of getting away from it now, but typically they're like 2,500 psi. You're good to blow out 250 feet of 4-inch line. The amount of volume it takes to push that out, you're good to do that with a standard bottle. That's about 4 feet high. 3.5, 4 feet, like a typical a welder's
bottle.
Yeah.
So why would you do that when air? I guess is that because you can't get an air compressor close enough, or
exactly. So if I'm on a job where I got to boom down into down into the subway, say, and they don't have an air compressor on site, or I'm down in where I can't get air to, and I need a lot of volume because sometimes I'll use the air off the shutoff valve, but I don't get enough volume. You'd be all day trying to blow it out with that. So, I did a lot of work in the subway in downtown Toronto where, you can just, it's easy. You've got to, instead of getting a big air compressor, I can just throw a bottle on my shoulder, carry it downstairs and have it a compressor whenever I need it, basically, right?
Okay.
It works mint, but it's you definitely need to be trained. It's not it. You know, if something goes bad, it can go real bad. Like you don't want to try to push a plug out with it. You know, you got
how much pressure can that produce, Craig, if unregulated?
2,500 psi.
So do you regulate that down then? Okay.
Well, you could just
so
you control
2,500.
the. You don't need much. Like you give it little spurts. So you just turn it on for a quick second, turn it off, and then as soon as you feel concrete moving, then you really got to know what you're doing and control the speed that it's blowing out. So you equalize the pressure that it takes to push the concrete, you know, and as the resistance on the end of the line gets lesser and lesser, it takes more, and then the air expands too, right? So you can time it perfectly if you know what you're doing.
Have you seen how Jeff does it in his videos?
I don't know if I can hold 2,500 psi on my thumb.
Yeah, he has a finely tuned thumb that tells him what pressure is in the pipe.
Nice.
It's incredible.
I like the way you cleaned out your hoses today on the video today.
I did it a handful of different ways. Which
well, the one where you sucked it through with you did the ball, but you also did the bag.
Yeah,
curled up in there.
Yeah. I tried on the video from this past Thursday. I tried something new, and honestly, it was probably the best way that I have yet blown out, and that was by putting the sponge ball inside of a plastic grocery bag, I guess you could say.
Yep.
It reduced the friction, I guess, of the sponge, and it was really, really good. I mean, it traveled. It was very efficient on time. I was really happy with how that worked.
Do you think it helps seal it up as well, Jeff? It helps keep air from potentially passing through, just having it in the bag?
It might have. I think the ball, it seems to be tight enough. I just think there's just the friction of the rubber and the stock, then the sponge. I think that thing's just sitting there, just it's just hard to push. But when that was nice. That was really good.
I definitely think the plastic bag helps seal it up a little bit. Because you saw my one short where it went bad there. Could have been a lot worse, but we got lucky where the air went by the ball and then pushed it back in, and I had to pop it open. All I did was wrap a little bit of plastic around the ball, shoved it back in, and then it started going just fine.
So when Craig and I were hanging out in Toronto, he had an interesting story. Not so much the story, but the solution to it. If you get that where air gets in front of the sponge, or if you haven't put a sponge in for whatever reason, it pushes concrete back and you have no way of bleeding the air off. Craig had an interesting technique for leaving that pressure without trying to crack the clamp and potentially having a bomb go off 10 feet or 3 feet from your face, I should say. I don't know if you remember that conversation on Craig, but I thought it was exactly. pretty cool what your method was for curing that or alleviating that.
Yeah, in a pinch, I mean, the only thing you can do is drill the pipe. Take a drill bit and literally drill the pipe, and relieve the air pressure. You don't want to just try to, undo a clamp, but keep it closed and try to. You get into that, it's going to blow up in your face.
Yep. It almost did for me.
Oh yeah,
it got real close.
Yeah,
but no, that's a great
drill trick.
No, it's a great technique. I never really thought of that before, but I think that could potentially save somebody's ass in the future.
Oh yeah. And if you don't want to ruin the pipe, and if you have your blowout cap right there, you could almost just drill a hole, just on that side of the clamp, and then that way you could just cut the end off and then weld a new HD end or end.
The hole up when you get back to the yard,
or just weld or just plug the hole with the welder.
Yep.
Or have a secondary relief port, or that.
Yeah, that works too.
Yeah.
You don't want to get that fancy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's Bill. He's got a point. He can get creative on blowouts. He once had to take a water bottle and just wrapped it with paper towels and shoved it in the hose to blow it out.
I remember taking my coveralls once and rolling them into a ball and pushing them through.
Yeah.
I sucked back a sweater wrapped in duct tape.
I've done it. Everybody here
knew how to water wash.
Done this.
Lost my sponge on the highway. What do I do now? Now that I know how to water wash, I think I would just do that. It's about the only time I would water wash. I played around with that for a bit, I just don't get it. We don't have like big water trucks on site here. I don't get it for our market. I don't.
And the amount
we
of time
have too many environmental rules.
Yeah. And the amount of time it takes, like I don't get all day. I'm just sucking the ball back. Sometimes I'll put water in and then I'll put a secondary ball if I want my boom like shining on the inside. But that's about the extent of my water washing. Because you get
99% of the jobs we're on, we're going to have to move to go wash.
Yeah.
So you just pull a sponge back and go dump your hopper.
Yeah.
Yeah, put a little bit of sugar in it, a little pinch of sugar. It's never going to set up. So,
yeah, exactly.
All right. I have an announcement to make.
Yeah.
And I need some help from all of our viewers. And my wife actually brought this idea to me. So we are expecting our second child. And
I saw that, Caleb, on Facebook.
Thank you. And she came to me and was like, how can we incorporate your pump into a gender reveal? So I am asking everybody to give me ideas on how I can use my little trailer pump to reveal the gender of our child.
Color dye in the hopper and pump it out.
Yeah.
See, that's what I said too.
100%.
Oh, no. You put a ball in, shove it about 4 foot up the hose, put the color in, then put another ball in, and blow it out the end of the hose.
See, I
like blue powder. So you just fire it up and it just smoke show the.
That's actually pretty good too.
So I could get a Shotcrete nozzle and an air compressor and all that stuff, and then you can just shoot it in the air.
There you go.
But
there's many ways, Caleb. Many ways.
Yeah, you know what? Just get like a talcum powder with color. Put color in it and just dump it in the airline, and then just start pumping. And then just as soon as you turn the nozzle on, it'll just start spraying the
color.
The color.
There you go. Yep.
All right.
So just paint your pump whatever color you need it to
paint my pump. No way.
Yeah.
Caleb, you guys should just tell Jeff the gender and get Jeff to do the reveal. You and the wife won't know.
You got a pink pump.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I have a pink pump.
Yeah, Jeff's got to paint his pump anyway. You see that thing?
Right.
Yeah, Chris has a pink for breast cancer awareness. He's got a pink 20-meter swing.
Yeah, we have a pink one out here too, close to where I live.
I'm gonna go with if we do paint the trailer. I'm gonna go with Bill's ideal, and I'm gonna go with the splatter gray.
Just take it to work. That'll happen by itself. It's the cheapest way to do it.
I think it'd be a hell of a YouTube video, Jeff, if you just painted it with a roller. Honestly, I think it'd be great.
Do bed liner.
Back when they had the fiberglass cowlines, we did do that quite often, actually.
Maybe we should just wrap one to make it look really shitty. You know how they make the cars look like they're all rusted out, like a brand new Camaro? And
patina.
Patina. Yes, it's patina.
The patina.
Well, I've got that now.
That's a good idea. The patina pump.
So you're just saying I just need to clear coat my pump? Then I'm good.
Yeah.
But I say that's what we do, Jeff. I'll come down. We'll install a volume control. We'll do a throttle control, and we'll put a roller paint job on it. There's no need for a new pump, man. That thing's got another 20 years in it.
Well, Foster's been practicing at Peterbilt. He's actually their paint guy. So I'm hoping I can just get him a 12-pack or something and have him come in one weekend and then I can have it prepped and he can just come spray it for me.
Nah, you can do wonders with a shaker can. It'll be fun.
Rattle can it?
Yeah, I just rattle can. They got those ones now that it's got like 2 feet of coverage, just one strip. You can paint that thing in 5 minutes.
We touch ours up every year just with some marine enamel and a brush, and it looks pretty good from 10 feet away.
Yeah.
A 1050.
Yeah, just the heavy stuff. It's so heavy it puddles out and you don't see the brush strokes.
Mm-hmm.
That or just clean it up and have it wrapped. So
here's a question. It's something I've always contemplated. I had somebody ask me about this. I didn't really know the answer because I don't have a lot of swing experience. For somebody who's going from either an all swing fleet or an all Putzmeister fleet over to the other side, they're going to change venues or whatever to a different brand. What do you think the toughest transition is, going from a puts to a swing, or vice versa, from anybody here who's done it? What are the major differences, the major hurdles, the major things to get used to? I guess this is for you, Chris, because you're probably the guy here that's closest to running.
I'm kind of thinking about it. I know swings. We've had swings since for over 20 years, and we dipped our toes in the Concords, and they were all brand new. But the struggles I still have to this day are learning the Concords. When my guys call and say, "Hey, it's doing this," I truly don't know what coil to look for or what forwarding valve to look for. Where a swing, when my guys call, I still know what to do, where to go, how to fix the problem right over the phone. That's the struggle I have.
And even on the newer swings, Chris, with the Vector and whatnot, you still find it pretty easy and straightforward to get in there and get it up and running?
The pump kit hasn't changed. They truly haven't changed. All the same hydraulics are there that were 20 years ago. So on the electrical side, there's a little bit different, but they haven't made it so confusing that we can't pick up on it and diagnose it over the phone. What about you?
That probably goes for switching anything. Like if you're have been running all Concords or all Alliances or whatever, you switched to anything else to learn the new system. Like when I switched to the Putzmeister, I mean, even though there's a lot of similarities, there was a learning curve.
For sure.
What about mixed designs versus an S tube and a rock valve? What do y'all see there?
Still up for debate. I still truly believe the rock valve is superior. I think I always will. But I can have my certain select operators that run S tubes and they think they're better, within my own company. So I truly, I don't know. I like rock valves, but I think a bad mix is truly a bad mix.
Hey, Chris, do you say that from a maintenance standpoint or performance or both?
Well, I think the question was like on a pumping side, I don't think one's better than the other, but maintenance side, it's still rock valve. They're definitely a whole lot easier to rebuild than an S tube, from what I've found in the last 7 years of owning Concords. Right, my guys in the shop can have a rock valve completely done and ready to go, back end fully rebuilt with all new wear parts, and honestly, they could probably do an afternoon job if I really push them, if they started at first thing in the morning. Where an S tube, I find there's no way. I don't think I could do it. I don't think I could do an afternoon job. It'd be the next day before it's done.
By myself, it takes me a full 6 to 8 hours to put wear parts in the back end of our Concord. Not just being a Concord, it's just fighting that S tube.
Yeah,
because you got to take everything completely out. You got to take the agitator completely out. Yep. You got to take it to be able to get that valve and get it pulled, flipped over and pulled out, and then get to the bearings on both sides of the housings and stuff. It's just when the swing, the hopper just comes apart. I mean, you just lay everything out, and it's just everything's right there, and that just makes it so much simpler. I wish people would make their hoppers 2 pieces at the minimum. Just make it so much easier, because half the time you're upside down in the hopper of that with the S tube, trying to get stuff moved around and things like that.
I don't find it's not so much the S tube, but if they made the shaft on the S tube like a swing to a rock valve where it bolts on, that would make a world of difference.
Yes, that would work for sure.
Conform was doing that for a few years. They were doing the replaceable or removable spline shaft, and I'm not sure why they actually stopped. Because I find even with our puts S tubes, it's the splines on the shaft that wear out before the actual valve itself does, especially with our material and how gentle it is.
Yeah, it's always the splines on us. They start taking the splines out and the shift lever, and then it's a full rebuild by that point, right?
Yeah.
This
David
guy right
Pemble's
here,
in the comments. He says you just need to know who to call. David's our local pump guru. He worked with us for a couple of years, and now he's the traveling pump mechanic, and he's busier than busy as he ever wants to be. We'll say that. He's very, very good, very knowledgeable.
Would he travel to Ontario?
He probably would. I think David.
I could
would
use
you
a
travel to
good
Ontario? We'll see what he says in the comments.
Yeah, I talked to him at the Alliance party and got his number, and I'm really glad I did because we're doing wear parts. I am doing wear parts next week for the first time ever, so it's going to be an experience.
I told him he should start a 1-900 call line for pump support.
I'll tell you, Nick and Lino at Concord have been awesome to us. We've been able to, you was talking about the valves and maybe some of the electrical system. Those guys have been able to get us going pretty quick, if we've had a problem. And they answer when I call. And a lot of times I'm calling at 4 a.m. our time. Of course, y'all know it's going to be 2 a.m. y'all's time, trying to pinpoint a valve or try to see which fuse in the box needs to be relayed, needs to be changed out or something like that. And they both have been outstanding for me when it's come to customer service.
Caleb, Caleb, you got our number. So if you're rebuilding, you can give any one of us a call if you're struggling with your rebuild.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. I might call you.
He called me a couple times, and I'm like, I don't know. My brother fixes everything, man. I just make YouTube videos and act like it's
I just tear it
I
up.
know the specs in the brochures. I don't actually get dirty wrenching on them.
How's that 4800 running?
We just got it back up and running. Tony got the new accumulator pump in it, and now it's running great. The only thing he did notice is when he's got the water valve on it, so he can build a little bit of pressure, the volume control works fine. When he's just pumping through the 5-inch elbow, recirculating, and there's no back pressure, the volume doesn't work. So I don't know if that's normal for that system or.
That makes no sense.
No, that shouldn't be.
But aside from that, it works great. We're sending it in for paint, so I think we got it fixed.
Good to hear.
But yeah, I think it's going to go downtown on a 40-ish story tower. It's going to go down there. We're getting some crazy ideas about doing the Aussie high rise water wash.
You guys going to do that?
I think we might try it, and we were thinking about it. And then after the whole fiasco a couple weeks ago, my YouTube vid there, that might have been the extra little kick that we needed to try it. I mean, I know what happened there. It was just a negligent mistake is what led to that. But it is what it is. But I think we might give it a go. I think so. It'll be interesting. So we'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see a video.
Yeah, I don't know if it goes really well. I don't know that we want to share. But I will say the guys in Australia, the meals guys, have been amazing with sharing. Like they there's no secrets with them, man. They're like super helpful, awesome dudes. They've sent us a whole bunch of info. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'd like to spread the love. If it's better and safer, then it's a win for everybody, right? It'll be interesting to see. To me, watching it looks a little bit time consuming. I think the big sell for the contractor will just be not wasting all that concrete on every pour,
and having to put it somewhere.
Yeah, not having to put it in a bin and pay for hauling that away, or put it back in your ready mix truck and paying the ready mix outfits what they charge to haul it away on overtime these days. I don't know. I don't think it's that much better from what I can see. We just like to try new shit out and see how it goes. So it'll be interesting.
So you're going to push the concrete up with water, right?
Wash the pump out and then fill it with water and put a Go Devil and a couple of they call them pegs, just tightly wadded paper sacks in the pipeline, and push it all the way out up into the slab.
How much water is that going to take?
Their water tank, I think he said it was 1,000 liters. He was telling me that they do stuff like 60 stories with this. And apparently in Australia, it's all they do.
Well, so they're not allowed to use air there.
Yeah, my biggest concern is segregation, but apparently it all comes down to the technique for wadding up those paper sacks. Jeff, you would love it. Paper cement sacks, man.
Now,
Absolutely. So where does the water? Do you bring the water back down? Or do you pull it?
Yeah,
back
you
down?
crack a valve and the water comes back down. They actually put a sponge in and blow the sponge back to push the water back down. To me, I was thinking they would just crack the valve and it would gravity feed, but they actually blow it back. So to me, I'm kind of in my head. I'm like, okay, well, you're still using a compressor and a sponge anyhow at some point, but you're not pushing concrete; you're pushing water with it. So I don't know. They swear by it.
The question we all want to know is which way you're going to put that Go Devil in.
Okay, so they use a swing Go Devil with a steel insert in it so that it doesn't collapse under pressure, and it faces forward, or as I would say, backwards.
Yeah. Now, when I do like underground subways, we'll run 4,000 or 5,000 feet of 5-inch line, and we pump that out with an entire water truck of water. It's really the safest way to do it. I mean, with Jeff, we made a cap up that hooked into your water, and we just used the water pressure to push 2-inch line out. It works perfect. Yeah, it's got tons of pressure. I think it's like 100 something psi water pump, right?
Just the water pressure off the pump.
Yeah, just make a cap up that you can hook your water on. Put a Chicago or something on the end of it, and just turn your water pump on, and it pushes the ball out.
And what was your technique for sealing to prevent the water from getting past and segregating the concrete?
Double ball.
Hard ball, soft ball?
Just a double ball, 2 balls. I'm just talking for like 100 feet of 2-inch line, whatever. Okay. Or even just do it one piece by piece, every 25-foot section. Pushes it out, no problem.
Yeah, I use water on the truck if I have to push out just like one hose or something like that. My blowout cap has, so it's like a hose fitting, and then I have my air, so I can just take my air cap off, and then I can just connect a garden hose to it, and then I'll just use water off the truck to push one hose out. I've never tried it with more than one. I've always just went straight to my air.
You don't have a regular water pump, do you?
I have a tiny little transfer pump. It transfers I think it's like 290 gallons per minute or something like that. So it's enough to feed my pressure washer when I'm washing out. But if you just use it as like a normal hose, it's like nothing.
Yeah.
I've used regular city water at between 60 and 80 psi to push concrete out of a placing boom system before.
Wow.
That's obviously pushing down from the top, so you've got gravity kind of on
your
side as well.
No. Pushing from the bottom where the pump was. We put the cap on there because their air compressor wouldn't start, so we just put it on there, and we got city water and hooked it up to the side of the air valve and pushed it out from the bottom down there. It was 80 psi.
How much?
It wasn't moving very fast.
Is it just horizontal pipe, or is it actually going vertical as well?
A little bit of vertical.
Really?
Wow.
I thought that's how you guys did it.
It took forever. I wouldn't want to do that. It takes a long time to fill up a 5-inch diameter pipe with a garden hose.
See what I'll do in this, like when we're doing subways, I'll knock out off the back end, maybe like a 4800. I'll knock the reducer out, wash the pump out completely, and then I'll stuff, like they call it in the Schwing Bible, the jute, which is paper. We could shove that in, or I'll just shove a Go Devil in and maybe a ball or two, just to ensure that water isn't going to get ahead of it and segregate it. And then, just put the reducer back on and pump on. And then the water just pushes it out. And when you get water out the end, it's clean. It's the safest way to do it. When you're pushing 4,000 and 5,000 feet of 5-inch pipe, the amount of volume of air it would take, it would just be like a bomb in there, right?
Even if it came out of there at 5 psi, I guess there's so much stored energy. It's just
so much volume. It would just and being in a 10-foot diameter tunnel, it gets kind of loud.
Doesn't have many places to run, do you?
No.
Chris Dillard was asking to explain the water wash for high rise. From what I know of it, really quickly, Chris, instead of using air to blow the concrete back out into a bin, you'd wash out the pump down below and knock the elbow off the back. Piece in. They have a special cap with like a 2-inch hose. One side goes to your pipeline, the other side goes to the back of the hopper, and then you have a water source to fill the pump with water as you're pumping water forward and pushing the concrete out, pushing the concrete all the way into the slab. And you have to calculate it that you don't have much more concrete in the pipeline than you need in the slab. The Aussie guys swear they can get it within a couple wheelbarrows every time. Once the slab is full, they swing the tip elbow over to a crane bucket, a couple barrels of concrete drop in there, the first gush of water, and then they just open a valve up, and the remaining water in the pipe flows back down into a holding tank. So it seems easy in theory. What could go wrong?
I mean, to get the amounts, you'd only have to really, the first time you might misjudge it. You might have to, I'd cut it short. You might have to crane a bucket or something up. But then once you do it once, you should be able to figure out, okay, it'll do, 20 by 20 square, whatever it is.
Yep.
You should be able to figure it out.
That's true. You're just adding an extra pipe and a half each floor. Right?
Yeah.
Have you seen how they measure concrete out here, though, Craig? It's a challenge. They have challenges measuring concrete.
Well, I always love it when the super comes up to the operator and it's like, how much do you think we're going to need? I'm like, I can tell you. I'll tell you exactly what you need just by looking at it. But if you don't have enough, it's not my fault.
What's funny is like Greg says, like they've done that, and I've given them my suggestion, and often they haven't followed that, and they've ordered either more or less, and they're right. They've learned the hard way that maybe they should listen a little more.
I'm sure everybody on this group here can say the same. Like when you're looking at a slab and you've been pumping it for 20 years, you know exactly how much concrete.
You know exactly what one truck does.
Oh yeah.
That's what Bill does. Bill just tells them order another truck. They may only need 2 yards. He's like, well, you'll have enough. I'm not paying for it.
Yeah. Yeah. If you want to play that, that's perfect. Nothing worse than waiting for a balance on a Friday of a long weekend for the half.
I waited for
that you're short.
I waited for 3 balances once.
Oh yeah. We've all done it.
That happens all the time here.
Yeah, usually when you're stuffed under the power lines and you can't recirculate.
I think Bill started.
No, when you do swing around to recirculate, that's when the truck shows up every time. So as soon as you want to go home, you just swing the boom around and it shows up every time.
That's the magic trick to make concrete appear, right?
It's like
I think you did that in one of your videos, Scott.
I did.
Like when you're out for dinner and you want your dinner to come, you just go out for a smoke, come back in every time, sitting on the table.
No, that's the truth. So, Craig, with as many swing pumps as you guys have in your fleet, pound for pound, what is the best model swing? Let's say for somebody who does a bit of everything, you're going to do a smattering of commercial work, a good bit of residential work. Say you're an owner operator, you can only have one machine and you got to make a business of it. What machine would that be? And I'll throw the same question at Chris as well. I think I know what Chris's answer is going to be.
It's the 31T.
I don't think it is.
Or it's a 39 detach. Or it's a 39 detach. Or is it the Razor, Chris?
Yeah, that's what I think Chris is saying.
After receiving it this year, yes, I will definitely say it's the 36 Razor.
Mm-hmm. Just been a superstar, hey Chris?
It is. It's an all-around good pump, yeah. It can be shy a little bit on some of the residential stuff we have here for boom length, but on an average, I'd say it would probably hit at least 80% of the stuff we do anyways.
I think that was my my pump pick last year at World of Concrete is my favorite pump of the show.
Mm-hmm. Even though it's not a double Z, Dan?
It was hard to come to that.
That's Dan and I's never-ending debate is RZ versus double Z.
See, I loved my RZ, my 36 RZ swing. I love that pump.
Oh, the S36X with the reverse tip? Yeah. You like that?
Thing, I loved it.
And that's the weirdest pump ever made.
Oh, it was awesome. I'll send you some pictures of what I used to do with it. I could get that thing anywhere.
What did you like? Like what made the boom? To me, I look at that boom configuration. It's like WTF. What did you find? Like what were the highlights of it?
Well, I could go like under a bridge because it would curl around underneath, right? It would curl around underneath itself, right? And it was nice to be able to just flip the jib. You know, we got to change the gasket in the yard because it had the jib on top. You could just flip the jib over. You didn't have to unpack the whole boom. I love that pump, and it had an art. They called it a straight line boom. So each cylinder was offset on the opposite side. It was never in the center of the boom. So when it unfolded, it actually untwisted itself like this. And when you look down the boom, it was perfectly straight, and every 90 went through the hollow pin. So they were able to keep the boom pipe within 3-4 inches the entire boom length. It's an awesome machine, I'm telling you. So what I could do is I could bring that in. I could and I made it so the hose rests were removable. I could bring that boom in a man door and go up a mezzanine, a set of stairs, and then set the jib on the slab.
Well, I remember looking at it. It looked like you could do a 360 with the boom, only having it like a foot out of the cradles, because there was no turning gears, no sections hanging low, nothing, right?
Yeah, and all the boom pipe was literally within 3 or 4 inches of the boom. It never had like on a 39 where the main it sticks like out like 3 feet. Everything was tight to the boom. It was awesome.
I never would have guessed that one. They had one out here for loaner for a year or so, one of the ready mix outfits out here, and the guys hated it. But I don't think it's that they probably never were able to quite wrap their minds around it.
No. See, the only problem is the jib was too long. It would have been better as a 35. Because the jib was too long, you know how like on a 34 swing, I don't know if any swing people here, where you can lift it out of the cradle and spin the boom around, and then you can unload, you can, flip the second out, you can sneak it out. With the 36, I had to have the main almost straight up because the jib stuck out 2 or 3 feet further. You weren't able to cheat. Like on a 34, I can swing the boom around. I've had an excavator dig a hole beside the pumps on low height and swing that second out in the little hole that I dug and then be able to unfold it.
Well, I remember that, Craig. You're going to laugh because I have the S36X diecast model, and that was one of the models in my video that nobody could name because there's hardly any.
That was the first one. When I was watching, that was the first one I knew because I ran that machine for like 7 years.
Yeah, nobody else could get that.
I have it right up there on my shelf.
Ah, I see it there.
Right there. That's it right there. That's my baby.
Because we got here we go. Oh man, this is a loaded question.
Yeah.
What's the release of their short rig tech? Do you have any points that would be better or worse than the Liebherr? I've been debating that in my head. Is any the rest of you guys are you familiar with the new Putz short rig system, the full flex system?
Yep.
What I think? I think the Liebherr would be easier to utilize the potential of the system because there's some pretty black and white working range parameters based on preset outrigger positions. With the Putzmeister, it's almost infinitely variable to the point where they've developed an app where you can punch in on the app how far out your outriggers are going to go, and it's going to tell you based on boom position exactly how far you can reach. That being said, that's a lot of stuff to fiddle around with when you pull up to a job site sight unseen. Whereas with the Liebherr, you've got kind of 2 or 3 main working ranges that are easy enough to memorize. I think it would be more practical to use. The Putz in some situations might offer a couple more options. As much as I love Putzmeister, I think the Liebherr system is still superior in my opinion.
I would say the advantage that the Liebherr has would be the way the front outriggers come out on your short rig side. It would give you more range than you would if you just had the Putzmeister one without that front outrigger going out.
Yeah, the riggers are definitely a game changer. Definitely.
I mean, Craig, you guys have a couple of them. Do you ever do that position where you pin the 2 front legs right against the cab and go flat out with the 42s?
I haven't, but I know our operators have.
So with that, like, what do you need? Like 13 feet of width, and you've got full reach over the cab.
Yeah, something like that.
Which is pretty crazy for a 42-meter boom. So,
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to give the advantage to LeBaire on that. I still want a 28Z puts in the worst way. I do. Oh man, it's like I do. It's just like I could go on for that's a whole separate episode. So
I think you should get a 31T.
Yeah.
You know that we had one on order, right, Craig? And then we like 2 months out, it was ready for paint, and we had to bail. It was coming out of COVID. We had no operators, and it slowed down. It was just really shitty timing. And we had it all custom spec'd out. Like it was, we put a lot into that thing, and we had to pull out on it. So and now, 2 years later, the pricing on them has just gone like everything. I guess pricing has gone insane, right? So it's tough.
Mm-hmm.
It's now tough for us to justify the purchase price for one of those for a 31, 32 class pump, because we can get a 38, 40 class for the same purchase price. But in our market, we're catching an extra 40 to 50 bucks an hour for it. So it makes it difficult.
But does the 39 or 40 telescope? No, it doesn't.
No, and I can't even. You know what? Ever since I can't even win a pump rodeo with a 38, so I should be over it by now.
and I think if we get the swing, we can I can talk to the factory. We can get them to turn it up to 11.
As long as the decal on the remote is reminiscent of a 1980s Fender amplifier, then yeah, we could talk about that. Anybody who knows me knows I pump slow anyhow. I'm a habitual slow pumper.
Oh, yeah.
I don't ever wind it up. Only for YouTube once in a while. That's about it. It's all just for show.
If you watch the pump rodeo, you'll know he does everything slow though.
I do. I was being heckled, okay? Being cheered by some, heckled by others. I looking back, I just fell apart under pressure.
I think the problem is you're a perfectionist, and that makes you go slower.
It's true. So on that topic, how many of you guys are going to go to Austin, Texas for the ACPA Pump Rodeo in October? Is anybody going?
I can't commit to it, that's for sure.
No, I can't commit.
Jeff?
Yeah, I may try to make my way down there.
There we go.
It's not that far for me. I guess I got to become an ACPA member.
That's right too. You would, yeah, you would. Don't show them your blow-up cap.
Right.
Lifetime ban. Yeah, I think if I go down there and lose that one, I'm probably going to retire from pump rodeos forever. So
I know some good bars. We'll go drown your sorrows.
As long as I got a mechanical bull, I'm in.
I actually looked at some rentals. We can actually rent those here, so we'll practice up before we go back to Vegas.
Scott, I'm still working on getting a 28 up to you to demo. There we go. I think I know the Dusty Dutchman. I know who this is. Now, when you say demo, could it be for like 3 years? I'll keep it super clean. Look at the pump in the background, right? See how clean that is? It'll look just like that when you get it back. It might actually be worth more money when you get it back.
Yeah, you tell him you'll sign the glove box.
Yeah, that's right. Oh man, yeah, no, it's no secret. That's what's on my list. Jeff, what's going on with you? And are you still looking at a mid-sized boom, or what are you thinking?
Right now, I'm just watching the economy. I mean, things seem to be picking up here, but I'm just watching the economy. Kind of waiting on a couple things to come through to see how they look. But honestly, I'm in a good spot. It's the problem. I'm kind of fat and happy right now, if that makes sense. With just Bill and I don't have a lot of worries, and I'm enjoying that part of it. So,
yeah, when they're all paid for, or even close to it, it's definitely a weight off the shoulders for sure, especially when the economy's uncertain.
Yeah. And plus, I need to. I've got other careers going on also that I need to wind up or wind down, I guess you could say, before I start adding a lot back onto my plate. I'd like to finish those out I should be able to do that in the next couple of years. So just kind of,
Guys that run bigger fleets, Craig and Chris, what's your take on new equipment versus old equipment when it's time to send something off to greener pastures? How do you guys look at that from a business perspective? What are some of your deciding points?
Well, they all get to a certain age, and obviously some have been worked a lot harder than others. Our 31s work every day and they're worked hard. So we're moving new ones in every 7 years for me, anyways. Some of my fleet, it's probably older than I want it to be. My goal is in the next 3 to 4 years, I want basically everything in my yard 7 years or newer, because I'm offsetting the maintenance side, like the overhead on the maintenance versus just payments that really aren't coming into the shop other than your regular maintenance on oil changes, right? Mm-hmm. That's kind of how I'm going to probably restructure my company in the next 3 or 4 years.
Like pretty much like what, 20,000 hours, Chris?
Yeah.
Get rid. It's
yep.
Once you hit 20,000, that's the mark where it starts to cost you. You start having to do barrels and engines and hydraulic pumps and major costs involved.
You're talking 20,000 engine hours, Craig.
Yeah.
Do you find you guys run all Mac, or do you have other chassis brands as well?
I'm like 99% Mac. Cab over, like Terra Pros cab overs. Chris, you like the
well, I have stone slingers as well too, right? And so we have Mac and Kenworth stone slingers. I got some Kenworth conventionals with my pumps, a lot of Mac, a lot of Terra Pros. I've been using a lot of the granites lately. That's how I've been ordering a lot of my trucks now, granites with Allison automatics. So fleet wise, out of everything I have, I'm probably 15% automatic now. Other than that, they're all manuals.
What do you find in terms of engine rebuild interval between like a Mac and a Packard and a Cummins? Is there any one that stands out ahead of the others for longevity?
Rebuild wise, I haven't had the Packards long enough to have to do it. Like the slingers, I'll be moving them out before I ever have to do that. Slingers, we generally only keep 5 years and then they're gone. We just replace them with new. No, I can't really say. They all have their issues. They're newer engines. We all know that you're going to get a good one and a bad one. I've probably had worse luck with the Packards from what I've seen versus the Max or the Cummins. But other than that, probably the least amount going to the dealer is probably the Cummins engine, the red engine.
Yeah, for us, we've had actually really good luck with Mac. Like, to think about it, like we really haven't had to do a lot in our fleet. Like the engines are pretty bulletproof.
And do you guys do you prefer MP8 or MP7? Is one any significantly better or more fuel efficient than the other?
If I had it my way, I would put MP8s in everything, because if an engine has to work less on the highway or on hills, you're going to save the fuel. I find the manufacturers are putting MP7s in equipment that probably should have 8s. That's my take on it. I like the extra horsepower.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
We had to redo an MP8 in our 58 meter at just under 17,000 hours. The bull gears went on it on the back, which was a little bit shocking because we're used to the older series engines where we were running them up to 30,000 engine hours. So I'd kind of wondered if that was typical for MP7, the new MP series. I say new, but I guess they've been around since 2008 or even older than that when they were with Volvo, right? if that was typical or if it was just kind of an anomaly in our situation. It definitely sucked. So
I've heard of a couple of those rear sets going, but I haven't personally had it. Haven't had it happen to any of my equipment.
Just our bad luck this time, I guess.
I think it's luck of the draw. Honestly, I've heard of a couple, but that's all I've heard. We had some injector cup issues on some of the earlier generation MP7s. Some of the 8s did it too, but the newer stuff's it seems to be pretty good so far. Like the 2019 and newer, we really haven't had any issues with them.
You know what it is for me after driving even a Peterbilt 320, now it's now called the 520, and that's also a cab over. Hopping back into an MR Mac, like I never complained about trucks ever before. It's a pump truck, right? But when I get back in a Mac now, it's just such a rattly piece of shit. And when I'm stuck in traffic, like our Peterbilt is so much nicer. And I hopped up in a Western Star conventional a couple weeks ago. My buddy got a 40-meter Alliance on one, and you close the doors and it's like quiet inside. It was absolutely wild. Maybe it's just old age getting to me or something like that. But I find now I'm more intrigued by a little bit of creature comfort versus what we dealt with Mac for the sliding windows that always jam up. And yeah, I don't know.
I compared it to from being in a covered wagon, the Mac MR cab versus getting into the conventional cab of a Kenworth. If you ever get in the Kenworth and drive that thing, the conventional cab, you will never go back.
That's a nice drive.
What about a Mac MR with airbags on the rear? I wonder if that calms it down a fair bit, or if it's still a rattle trap.
On a Mac Granite, they're nice.
Mm-hmm. But there's, we're in such tight setups that the Terra Pros, that couple feet, it makes a difference.
Yeah.
All our 39 detaches, I got to keep them all the same, because if I got to swap one out, I might not have that 2 feet on the front end to play with. So
even with the wheelbase, it looks like high centering will be a bigger issue with the conventionals. Mm-hmm. Or dragging the frame or the fuel tank, from what I've seen.
With the longer one, and that's kind of the reason why I've always here lately wanted the 5-section 40s, because it's basically on the same chassis our 38's on, and that hasn't been a problem on it. Now on our 4-section 40 we used to have, you really had to watch your fuel tanks, and I think there's a video where we almost actually drug the DEF tank off the truck. Luckily I was able to get Bill's attention and get him stopped before he headed on in, because he was fixing to drag that off the truck. So it's just the wheelbase is just so much longer on those 4-section 40s compared to the 38.
There's some really good comments regarding the airbags. Chris Dillard says airbags do help a lot on the MR. 2Shotcrete says air ride doesn't work in cold weather. What do you guys think out in Ontario? Have you noticed an issue with that?
I have lots that have air ride. Even all my stone slingers are all air ride. So we don't see any issues. Yeah, if you're going to have any issues, I can't pinpoint it to the air ride system itself. It's more to your air system that you're not doing a preventative side on alcohol or whatever, right? So it's freezing. Mm-hmm. It's freezing the air up.
Yeah.
So it's not just your air ride; it's a whole bunch of other things too. Your system's frozen. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you guys got any other topics you want to touch on, or any questions in the? I don't know if we missed any questions here from the commenters, or anything else you guys want to bring up.
I was trying to dig back through and make sure we caught all the high points anyway with everybody on that. I think we did a pretty good job of it. But
I tried popping up all the good questions that were asked.
Yep. Well, it was great. I hope. Last I checked, we were about 3 subscribers away from 200 on the new channel. So if anybody hasn't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for us. We met our goal was to be able to go live on the channel, but now it's just what kind of goals can we do with growing the channel. But it's been great having you guys on here. I guess it just kind of popped up this morning through the comments through our videos that we posted, from the premieres, having y'all making comments in there. And I told Scott, I said, we really need to get y'all on here and talk about some of y'all stuff, because it sounds like y'all do some amazing things. I've seen some pictures of some of the oil platforms y'all have pumped and things like that. So I'd like to see more of that. That's pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm. What's the tallest building you guys have pumped, Craig, in Toronto?
90 stories.
Because when Dan and I were out there looking around, I couldn't believe the amount of tall towers. Like out here, we think that 50 stories is tall. Your guys' stuff out there is
we're like 87, something like that.
Jeez. We were
you
hoping
get around
to be able
here
to ride around with it for a day, but it just didn't work out because everything going on with the show. But
some of these are like 60,000 cubes, and like we're starting ones that are we're just getting started, and we're not going to finish them until 2029.
Oh my!
Like
wow!
That's like they're like 6+ year jobs, 60, 70, 80,000 cubes.
Wow.
I guess when you're getting projects like that, you can invest in the equipment because you've got 5-6 years at work. With us, it's cyclical. It's like, if we get a bunch of jobs on the go, typical high rise for us, what would you say, Dan? A year and a half from
about a year and a half to 2 years is average for most.
Yeah, so it's tough to justify.
The Schwing 9500. Chris Dillard just asked here what pump we use for the 90 story. Yeah, the Schwing 9500 all day. Thing's a beast.
And that's 7-inch barrels, right, Craig?
Yeah.
And do you think that would take down a puts 14,000?
I could put cinder blocks in the back end, and I could push it out the end with that thing.
Can you do it on camera? You could be onto something.
If it'll fall through the grate, it'll go out the end of the pipe.
Absolutely.
Fair enough. Well, I think we've got almost 2 hours here, so I think we've touched on about everything. And as Jeff mentioned, thanks to Craig from Pumpcrete and Chris from Loose Brothers for coming on. A wealth of knowledge, and I'll never forget that. Drill a hole in your pipe. If you can't get the sponge or can't bleed the air off, drill a hole in your pipe, people. That's the pro tip of the day. Just don't drill it in my pipe. I'll drill the hole.
Yeah.
Our guys
find the oldest, shittiest pipe. Just find the oldest, shittiest pipe. Just drill that one.
Yeah, drill that one. Just go around with your hammer, ting, ting, ting. But no, it's great. Thanks everybody for coming on. Thanks everybody who tuned in. And it's good to see the channel, the live stream channel, go in the direction that is, and we'll be doing hopefully many more of these. So, any final thoughts from anybody else? Who wants to close it out?
We'll let
Caleb, you close it out. Caleb did all the legwork for setting up the new channel, setting up the live stream. Caleb is the youngest guy in the group. He was by default voted to be the tech support guy. So big thanks to him for doing all that, and congrats on the new little one on the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thanks to everybody else. Thanks to Dan again for coming on board.
Yeah, thanks for hopping on the live stream, all of you guys. It was good. Good turnout.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for the support, guys, at the Pump Rodeo. I'm sorry that I let you down, but I will do better. I will do better. We were
cheering.
I know, it's in the YouTube video. You even got a shout out on the stream.
I'm disappointed you didn't do it live.
ACPA will do it. Jeff and I will do it at the ACPA, and we'll go live.
We'll go live at ACPA.
We'll go live ACPA.
Sounds good.
Excellent. All right, guys. Well, we'll see you on the next one, and keep on pumping. Jeff?
Keep on pumping.
Keep the dirty side down.
Hurry up and wait.
Lock the, Jeff, lock the
hubs in.
That's the one. Lock the hubs in. Till next time. Over and out.
Y'all take care.
Yep. You too. Thank you, guys.
Night, guys.
Yeah.